¡Te voy a hacer picadillo!
Here they come. Hopefully there'll be plenty of enemies that will stack right next to this ladder. My reticle isn't focusing for some reason. It's so broken, this focus reticle system. The amount of luck and bullshit required for this stupid sequence is just absurd. There's no fucking challenge here. It's just gaming the system, trying to understand how the enemies behave. Just on an artificial level. Like if I stay right here, they'll all stack up at this ladder over here. Some of them will go on the ladders behind me. Like the Chainsaw Man's not even gonna go through the door, he's just gonna come to this ladder right over here. Oh, now it's done. It's like, how many enemies did I kill? 17. So you have to kill 17 enemies, apparently, in order for this sequence to end. But this is such a messy sequence. The combat is so bad. I mean, it's an absolutely pathetic sequence. And originally, I would just run into this house, grab the shotgun, grab the grenades, try to get inside of this watchtower over here, but the problem is the Chainsaw Man. Not to mention how passive the enemies are in this sequence, and at times they can be aggressive. I mean, their AI is so sporadic, and their behavior just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's all indicative of a badly designed AI system. And you have the guys throwing axes, that's completely random. You have the guys trying to grab you, and the fucking crouch is useless against those grab animations, especially when they do the close-range grab, where it's not even a real close-range grab. They just run up to you and do the regular long-range grab, and the detection on the fucking grab is atrocious. And when you're trying to shoot the enemies, and then those grabbers start running at you, you have to deal with Leon's sluggish movement, because it takes him so long to fucking turn. Every other Resident Evil game has had faster characters, but Leon is the slowest character in the entire Resident Evil series. And you have the inconsistent flinch animations, you have the random HP of the enemies. I don't even understand why they have to waste time changing the flinch thresholds for a harder difficulty. Flinch animations are a standard, they're a quality of life design, they're just a neutral design that's meant to represent the game at a fundamental level. It's not something that you amend on a difficulty. If you want to have shitty flinch animations, then why don't you apply it to all fucking difficulties, rather than to the higher difficulty? Like, where is the fucking difficulty with that? You clearly designed this sequence with flinch animations in mind, and then you want to remove them on the highest difficulty? I mean, what crosses as fundamental and important in new Capcom's idiotic mindscape? They've ruined such an iconic sequence from the original Resident Evil 4. I mean, the village fight from the original Resident Evil 4 forced you to understand the mechanics, it forced you to understand the flinch animations, it forced you to understand the melee system. You're having to stand your ground, you're not running around like a fucking idiot in a stupid running simulator. Trying to juggle around AI that have the most sporadic behavior I've ever seen in a Resident Evil game. And the times where they just choose not to follow you and they just stay behind for no reason. Not to mention, you have all their other poor designs present with them, like I've already discussed. And just the way they navigate the environment, it's clear, like, they didn't design the environment well enough to accommodate the way the AI move around this environment. Just like with the village ambush sequence from Resident Evil Village. That's why you were forced to rely upon that barricade. That was the only way to make that sequence consistent. But they don't have anything consistent here to balance out the shit sequence. To make it where the player's not witnessing the poor designs at hand. And if you decide to set up in this watchtower, you better hope you have a fucking grenade. And you better hope that there are enough enemies stacking around this ladder. And you have to hope that there aren't any enemies just sitting right here when you're trying to escape. And then when you're trying to get inside of this building to grab the shotgun, you have to run the risk of the enemies attacking you during this animation because you don't get iframes on this game. And this game needs fucking iframes. They took the combat mechanics and the enemy AI designs, and, like, I mean, with the enemy AI designs, they made them even more shit compared to the original Resident Evil 4. But they took all that, yet they removed the iframes. Yet the systems put in place in the original version of Resident Evil 4 was all designed with iframes in mind. You can't just arbitrarily remove iframes and then just take the same systems from Resident Evil 4, amend them slightly, and then put them into this game. This game that feels more like a fucking alpha than a fucking game. This is such a brain-dead sequence. It's just showing the game's true colors. It's once again showing the blend of Resident Evil 1/Resident Evil 2 remake mentalities, clashing with Resident Evil 4 mentalities. You can't combine those two mentalities together, you gotta stick to one. This is such a clinically confused section, the developers aren't comprehending their own designs. This is the game you're trying to show on professional difficulty, the difficulty that's meant to showcase the developer's true mindset. I mean, this is seriously just cementing Resident Evil 4 Remake's place as being the worst Resident Evil game, the worst remake I've ever played, and the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. But that's not even as bad as Salazar, or other sequences later on after this shitty sequence. But that's the best I've got with this stupid sequence for professional difficulty. And professional difficulty is no different to hardcore difficulty. It's just hardcore difficulty without autosaves, and you have to rely upon perfect parries only, and you have all the weapon modifications at the start. But all the parameters are just the same as hardcore difficulty. This is a lazy difficulty. The list is endless. With the amount of grievances I have with this game, with the number of poor designs this game has, with the number of designs that were neglected or overlooked by the fucking awful development team that handled this game, and also handled Resident Evil 2 Remake and Village. How the fuck are new Capcom still making games to this day? They can't even deliver a good story with this game. They promised improved storytelling, but the story is honestly even worse than the original Resident Evil 4, and this game takes itself less seriously than the original version of Resident Evil 4, especially when they're trying to make it where, like with the Golden Eggs for instance, they make Salazar so shit that they decide to put in a Golden Egg cheese system where Golden Eggs kill him instantly and under 10 seconds. Because they put in that stupid Golden Egg cheese, they decided to put in less work with Salazar, and they put the same amount of effort into this stupid sequence. What a fucking disgrace. This is the most disgraceful Resident Evil game I have ever played by far. And fuck all the toxic fans that defend this game. I pity the fake Resident Evil players that like this game, I really do. Because they have no fucking taste. They have the shittiest taste in games ever. And they're that fucking brain dead that they're willing to settle for a shoddy product because it has the title of Resident Evil 4. It has Leon and Ashley and Ada and Luis. All this fucking iconography, and they can't even get the game right. That just goes to show how easily swayed the fucking fan base is with a Resident Evil game.